First.
Cold front marching in, making some noise tonight with some showers and thunderstorms rumbling in. The atmosphere a bit unstable here into the evening. 44 degrees our low, and some hefty rainfall with the front's arrival. And then sunshine for Tuesday, 67. Wednesday, mostly cloudy, 64. I'm Scott Laurie Moore at the Weather Channel on News Talk 760 WJR.
It's time for Lions Review. Presented by MGM Grand Detroit, the king of sportsbooks. Now here's the voice of the Detroit Lions, Dan Miller.
Hey, what's up? Good evening, everybody. Bye week behind us, Jacksonville in front of us. Lions are back to work. Got to find some way to make quarter two better than quarter one. Glad you're with us tonight. Got a lot of football to talk about to help us do that. The one, the only Michael Hara from DetroitLions.com. Michael, welcome back from your weekend of R&R, your one weekend during the season away from football. I should say, with the current state of affairs in the National Football League, we hope this is your one weekend away from football.
No, I don't want a week away because of the virus or anything like that. I'll just take it the way it is. Let's just power through 13 more weeks, 12 more weeks, and get on with the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you're hoping for, and we'll talk about COVID in a little bit, but we'll also talk about the Lions, quite obviously, because they did have some work last week before Coach kind of told them to get away and regenerate and recharge and all those things. So, look, hasn't been particularly good through the first quarter of the season, and they got to find some way to be appreciably better. The schedule eases up now, but the teams that they're playing are also looking at the Lions and figuring their schedule evens up because the Lions have struggled to a 1-3 record. So it's going to come down to which of these teams that hasn't played particularly well so far plays better on Sunday, starting with Jacksonville.
Yeah, and I would certainly think that the Detroit Lions are more equipped to win a game anywhere against Jacksonville than Jacksonville would be against the Detroit Lions. I think the Lions have better players, they have a better quarterback, better offense. Most of the Jacksonville Jaguars, good players, are playing on other teams. That's the way it is. You know, they've got rid of a lot of guys and to build the team for the future. But for now, it's a team that the Detroit Lions should beat next Sunday in Jacksonville.
Yeah, watched some of Jacksonville yesterday, and they do some things that I think will be interesting to see how the Lions handle them. We'll talk to the coach about Gardner Minshew coming up in just a bit. He's a different cat. I mean, he's the one thing you'll hear me talk to Coach about is, he's not like most quarterbacks. He's kind of frenetic out there, but he finds a way to make plays. He's completing almost 70% of his passes. And the Lions are not getting after quarterbacks very much right now, so they got to find some way to make him uncomfortable.
Yeah, Trey Flowers talked about that issue before the bye. I think it was maybe a week ago, Monday, or a week ago today, or Tuesday. I forget which. And he said one of the issues they have is they don't stop people in the running game, and so they don't have to throw. He says you can't get sacks unless they throw the ball, which seems pretty academic to me and pretty easy to follow. But I think obviously one goes in hand in hand with the other one. Look, the Lions have given up 170 yards plus something in the first 4 games per game on the ground. Only 2 other teams have given up more through 4 games, Houston and Dallas. And the Lions are giving up 5.2 yards per carry. And they've had some big bad games.
That's a problem. And you know what? He's right, because where you are able to put teams in a bad down and distance situation is where you are able to put quarterbacks in positions where they have to make plays. And oftentimes when a quarterback is in a position where he has to make a play, now this can be down and distance. It can be generated also by the scoreboard, which can cause a quarterback to try to make plays. I do believe some of that has impacted Matthew Stafford this year. But if you don't start off with the quarterback being uncomfortable before the play, and then you don't make him uncomfortable during the play, at no point are you making him uncomfortable, and he's quite comfortable, and he's going to make a play. Follow me?
You've made me uncomfortable. No, but I get it entirely. I go back to that because I was just writing about it today for DetroitLions.com. I go back to the Saints game They had 42 runs, but 39 called runs and 3 kneel downs. Okay, let's just stick when they were trying to advance the ball, and they never had a run longer than 12 yards, and they just kept
Ugh.
left, right, middle,
Yeah.
left, right, middle, middle, middle a couple times. Let's just mix it up and do the same thing.
It's death by 1,000 cuts.
Yeah, and they threw the ball really when they wanted to. I think just to keep Drew Brees warm for the next game. He only threw 25 passes, only 24 after the interception, and it was surgical. Dan,
Yeah.
it really was. They didn't bludgeon him. I mean, sort of up front, but they just and then at will.
But again, that goes to what Trey Flowers is talking about. It goes to you're not making him uncomfortable. You're not putting him in bad positions in terms of down and distance. And a veteran quarterback like Drew Brees, if you're not making him uncomfortable, he's going to beat you up. And Mike, we've seen enough to know that whether it's Drew Brees or Gardner Minshew or anybody else the Lions are going to face on their schedule, if you don't do something to knock them off their game, these guys are there for a reason. Now, there's different levels of reason. Drew Brees, Hall of Fame. Gardner Minshew, starting quarterback in the NFL. But he's certainly capable of ruining your day if you don't find some way to affect him.
They're among the 32 starting quarterbacks in the league and maybe 10 or 12 of the backups. Every one of those guys, given time, can complete passes.
Agreed.
It's what you make the guy, maybe the second stringer who's been in the league. Those guys, that's different. But the other ones, you've got to make them, like you said, uncomfortable. You got to make them get into spots where they don't want to throw from, or that's not what's designed. If it's a roll right and all of a sudden you make them go the other way, that changes everything, and you have the advantage. You start tipping balls and you get pressure, and you're throwing high, and you're either throwing late or you're throwing early because of the rush. Then you've got something going defensively. But with the Lions, you've got 5 sacks in 4 games. And that's not making anybody uncomfortable, except if you're coaching the Detroit Lions.
And that's one of the things that we'll talk about is the head coach coming up in just a little bit. We'll chat with him about what's going on with the Lions, what he wanted to accomplish during the bye. Let me hit on some of the things that we saw yesterday and last night. What did you think of the Vikings on 4th down, going for the first down instead of kicking the field goal to go up by 8?
I like the bold play, but it's not what I would have done. I like tying it up and taking my chances in overtime. That's what I would have done.
Well, you know what? In worst case scenario, the game gets tied and you take your chances in overtime. That's the worst case scenario.
Worst.
So, yeah, I mean, it's one of those situations where as I was watching the game, I thought to myself, there's 2 ways to look at it. And both of them come back to Russell Wilson. Do you want to give Russell Wilson the ball with a chance to beat you? Or do you want to give Russell Wilson the ball with a chance to tie you? That's if you don't get it. Now, I have heard and read where people said the hole was wide open. All he had to do was cut to his right, and he's got the first down. Stop. That's why you don't do it, because all the execution in the world can be there, and if one guy doesn't do his job, that execution falls apart. That's the problem. Human beings aren't perfect. Perfect play call, 10 guys execute, 11th guy doesn't. That's why you ended up giving the ball back to Russell Wilson. I think it's defendable, but I certainly think I would have kicked the field goal and said, okay, so you go the distance, and then you got to get a 2-point conversion on top of that.
I like to take as much human error out of everything in my life as possible. I don't want to go to the airport and the guy goes, look, this is a smooth ride. We don't have human error, okay? I don't like that. I like to take that out of the equation. I like certainty, okay? That's what I like.
It was a tough loss with Vikings too, and I'm that they put a lot into that game, and boy, were they right there to beat a good team. But also, man, is Russell Wilson something else? I mean, a couple of 4th downs on that final drive, just sitting back there making plays, just cool as can be. He's really something. And TJ Lang tweeted something out yesterday. He said, "Who's going to beat the Packers in the NFC?" And I was going to send it back that said the Seahawks.
Yeah.
And then when they were down to the Vikings, I was glad I didn't send it. And then when they came back to win it, I wanted to send it later, but I just left it alone. But I think the Seahawks are pretty good. I think the Packers have looked pretty good. I think so far in the NFC, that's who you're looking at.
I think I like about Russell Wilson. I like everything about Russell Wilson. Okay, I mean, I just think he's as good as there is in the National Football League. But the way he runs to find more room to throw the ball, he negotiates, navigates the pocket. to find maybe another safe harbor there to get rid of the ball. And then and he doesn't just take off and run, because he can run when he runs, but he can also find a guy downfield to get a big gain. So it's just the presence he has of the way he handles himself. I wouldn't say second to none, but it's pretty special.
Metcalf has really been a terrific draft pick for them. Oh my goodness, what a pick! And then a lot of teams are, that bypassed him. They're going to be regretting that one for a while. He's a terrific player, and you look at where they are, and it might come down to how good that defense is. And that's the one thing that we don't know about Seattle that normally we take as kind of a given is how good is that defense, because that offense looks pretty good, and as long as he's back there, they feel like they have a chance. All right, we're going to take a break. There's some more things I want to talk about coming out of the NFL. There was an interesting day yesterday, and we don't get a chance too often to just sit back and watch where the block of our day isn't Lions related. I'm very glad to get back to that, but for one day, it's always cool to kind of sit back, watch some Red Zone and everything else that's going on around the NFL. I want to remind you, our chat with Michael Harris brought to you by Comerica Bank. Experience full-serving banking at Comerica Bank. Learn more at Comerica.com. Back with our chat with the Lions head coach right after this. Glad you're with us. Another edition of Lions Review right after this.
back to more Lions Review. Presented by MGM Grand Detroit, the king of sportsbooks. Here's Dan Miller.
Kyle Allen was hit hard by Jalen Ramsey, so this means Alex Smith is going to have his first snaps in a game in 693 days. His wife is here at the game as the family members are allowed to be here. He is on the field talking to wow, this story, you can't even believe the magnitude of what this means. Almost lost his life, 17 surgeries, and here he is playing again.
And he's got a 2-minute drill to run with 3 timeouts, down 20-7 to the Rams. 1st and 10 at their own 35 by virtue of the hit on Jalen Ramsey on Kyle Allen. And Alex Smith's first play is a swing pass to J.D. McKissic. Slips through a tackle, crosses the 40 to the 41 and out of bounds. Gain of 6 on first down on the first throw for Alex Smith in over 2 years.
Bram Weinstein and Julie Donaldson on the Team 980 Washington Football Network. Alex Smith back in football yesterday, back on the field, and hard not to root for that guy considering all he's been through. Almost died as a result of the infections from the leg injury that he suffered a couple of years ago. Incredible road back. You heard them mention 17 surgeries. I'll be honest, after watching the ESPN piece on him, I'm not sure I feel comfortable with him ever playing again, but that's not my decision. And he's a guy that you just say, man, you tip your hat to, because what he has done, what he has come back from, what he has endured has been incredible.
Yeah, he's been a good player wherever he's gone to. Now, I don't know how it's going to work out with Washington, but you know what he did with Kansas City and he did with San Francisco, then, turned the reins over to guys who took it another step. But boy, what a career he's had.
Yeah, they couldn't protect him very well yesterday, so he knows he can take a hit now. He got hit a lot, and they've said that Kyle Allen will be the starter if he is ready to go coming up this week. He got knocked out of the game, but we'll have to wait and see whether or not he's ready to go. But again, just hats off to Alex Smith, because just to get back on the field and endure what he has, and if you haven't seen the ESPN doc on that, watch it, because it truly is amazing, and just the road he's had back, and we'll see where it goes from here. But that was an incredible moment to see him run back on the field in that game. All right, let's get to the head coach. This interview with Matt Patricia brought to you by MGM Grand Detroit. Detroit, the king of sports books. Chatted with the head coach today. Just asked him, first off, what was the biggest thing he wanted to accomplish during the bye?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for us was just getting some rest to kind of get away from it a little bit. While we took an opportunity to look at what we're doing and kind of look at some of the play on the field, and obviously identify areas that we're doing well that we can build on, and areas that we're not doing so good that we need to kind of eliminate or do a better job of. So that combined with the rest, a little bit of the break mentally and physically was important.
So that's your message to the guys, was just kind of, hey, guys, this is one of the only opportunities you'll get during the season. It's really the only opportunity you'll get. Take the downtime, utilize it, come back ready to roll.
Yeah, absolutely. I think from the standpoint of, we worked at the beginning of last week and kind of really grinded on the information that we had in the first 4 games, and just want to make sure we got that all done. So when we walked out of the building, the players were able to just enjoy some downtime, be with their families, be able to go rest, kind of get off their feet and take care of their bodies, but also just mentally kind of escape a little bit.
Coach, COVID has been an issue during the downtime. There's been some games rescheduled and things like that. You guys, knock on wood, have done a terrific job. There's been a lot of effort involved in that. But I just wonder how much you are following everything that is going on in the league and how much that impacts how you do things, because this is all new, and I would assume it is all still fluid.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that everything is still just, it's very fluid right now. We're trying to do a good job of paying attention to everything that's going on. And I think the biggest part of it is we just got to be flexible. We've got to just work within whatever situation is presented to us and control what we control and go forward. So from that standpoint, it's, it's new for everybody across the league, and everyone's trying to figure it out as they go. We just got to continue to encourage everybody to be safe.
Coach, you always keep the focus very small. It is what is in front of you at that moment on that day, and doing it to the best you possibly can for you, your players. But I wonder, too, if there was a part of you as you kind of regrouped during this bye that you said to them, look, fellas, this hasn't gone the way that we wanted it to in the first quarter, but there's a ton of football left in front of us, and a ton of football equates into a big opportunity still.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, one of the things we talk about all the time is the quarters of the season. And certainly we didn't play up to our standards in the first quarter of the season. We can do a better job in the second quarter and then improve on that in the third and improve on that in the fourth, then, we'll be trending upward and trying to get better as the season goes on. And I think that's what's important for us, is that we've got to do a better job in this next 4 games. And it starts with one game. It's one game at a time. And it's all about Jacksonville and learning from our mistakes that we've had for the first 4 games, learning from the things that we did well and build on those, and just try to do the best job we can this weekend down in Jacksonville.
Talking to a number of guys on the offensive side of the ball, they've all talked about what they believe is the potential, and that the only thing keeping them from that potential is consistency. But they also point to the fact that they've done it. It's not as if they're saying, through 4 games, we haven't been able to accomplish anything offensively. They know what they've been able to do. It's just a matter of extending that out over more of the 60-minute period.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. I think, we talk about just trying to play better 60 minutes. I think we've got some outstanding minutes within that. I think we've got some minutes that aren't so good. And if we can just kind of take those ones that haven't been so great and improve on those, I think we'll be right where we want to be. For us, it's just understanding that, in the NFL, you do have to play 60 minutes of good football, and everyone is just too good week in, week out.
Is that kind of the common theme that you would say if you self-scouted through the first 4 games, that you would say, look, it's a lack of consistency. There have been moments where we have played the way that we want to play, but in the long run, there just haven't been enough of those.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I think that obviously we've had some really good moments. We've gotten up big on some opponents, and we've played well enough, in those first 4 games, but we haven't done it consistent enough all the way through the game. And I think that's a big part of it for us right now, is, to be able to capitalize on those situations when we get in them. And then, just to stay consistent through those tough ones, so that at the end we give ourselves a chance to win.
Hey, just a quick thought on the Jags, and in particular Gardner Minshew. He is a guy that you really find, at least from my perspective, he's hard to put into a box as a quarterback and say he's this type of guy. He's just different, and he's just a guy that figures out a way to get it done. And sometimes those guys can be tough to deal with. Yeah,
absolutely, because you're exactly right. He does kind of just do a bunch of things really well, and I think he adapts to whatever in-game he needs to in order to give his team a chance to be successful. So, if he's got to sit back there and throw it, he can do that. If he's got to manage the game and hand it off and try to get him into the best run look, he can do that. He can obviously have athletic enough to run the ball if he has to, or scramble out of the pocket and extend plays. He's got good skill players that he trusts, and he gets the ball to them. So from that standpoint, I think he just does a great job adapting week in, week out to whatever the defense does against him, and trying to maximize what he can do against them.
Hey, Coach, final thing. Florida's opened things up a little bit. There will be some fans. We'll see how many end up in the stadium on Sunday. But to your guys, do you think that is a welcome sight, even if everybody in there is rooting against them? Do you think they love being back in that atmosphere versus looking up and not seeing anybody in the stands?
Yeah, I do. I really think that all of us, are just excited that, when it's safe, to get the fans back in the stadiums. And certainly, energy can come in a lot of different ways. And whether it's your home crowd rooting for you, or it's an opponent crowd in a hostile environment rooting against you, you can feed and build off all of that, so it'll be fun. It'll be exciting. I think it'll be the most people that we played in front of. So, we're looking forward to that.
All right, there it is. Lions head coach Matt Patricia, and talking about the game coming up this week against Jacksonville. And as we talked about, there will be some fans in the stands as Florida has opened things up, and we'll have to wait and see how many they put in there, because I think they've been given permission to go ahead and load it up. And I think the teams have said, you know what, we'll take it kind of slow. Thank you very much. But I think, Mike, if you're a player, even if everybody's rooting against you, as I just talked to the coach about, you're just happy to see some faces in the stands.
Oh, absolutely. Look, isn't it fun to go to Green Bay when the place is packed? Minnesota,
Oh, yeah.
Remember when they had the motorcycle?
It's rarely fun leaving.
Yeah, right.
Fun going.
But a lot of those places, like I said, the motorcycle in at the Hubert H. Humphrey Metrodome in Minneapolis it was fun. It was cool to hear that roar. I like that stuff. I really do.
I do too. I have said, Mike, to this day, when the home team comes out of the tunnel, hair on the back of my neck still stands up. I love that moment no matter where we are. And you're a big boxing guy. It's that same thing when guys are walking down the aisle to the ring. Just those moments are what make sports what they are, the build-up and the anticipation.
Well, I made that walk to the ring. I made it with Leon Spinks and a couple of other guys. It's cool. It really is.
Especially when you know you're not about to get hit.
Especially when they're climbing through the ropes and I'm not.
Exactly. I'm going to leave you here. You're on your own after this. We'll take a break, come right back. Much more coming up on this edition of Lions Review. Glad you're with us. Looking ahead to the Jags, we're going to talk to the big man, Lomas Brown, when we come back. Stick with us.
Fox News, I'm Kathleen Maloney. President Trump back on the campaign trail, holding a rally in Florida tonight after getting a clean bill of health from his doctor.
Dr. Sean Conley says President Trump has tested negative for COVID-19 on consecutive days using the rapid tests available to the White House.
Fox's Gernal Scott. The president also has rallies scheduled in Pennsylvania and Iowa this week. At a campaign event in Ohio, Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden blasting the rush to confirm the president's Supreme Court nominee.
Why do Republicans have time to hold a hearing on the Supreme Court instead of providing a significant economic need for localities?
A confirmation hearing for Judge Amy Coney Barrett began today and continues with questioning tomorrow. America is listening to Fox News.
I-75 northbound after I-696. There's an accident within the construction zone. It's on the right shoulder. Use caution. The southfield, both directions at Michigan Avenue. Construction, a single lane closure in place through early November. I'm Peggy Hodge, WJR Traffic and Weather First.
Cold front marching in, making some noise tonight with some showers and thunderstorms rumbling in. The atmosphere a bit unstable here into the evening. 44 degrees our low, and some hefty rainfall with the front's arrival. And then sunshine for Tuesday, 67. Wednesday, mostly cloudy, 64. I'm Scott Laurie, more at the Weather Channel on News Talk 760 WJR.
to more Lions Review. Presented by MGM Grand Detroit, the king of sportsbooks. Here's Dan Miller.
Cousins takes the snap. He'll hand it off to Madison straight ahead. I don't know. He needed to get to the 5. Based on the initial spot, he's short. They're saying Seahawk football. Alexander Madison needed to get the nose of the football and couldn't get it. Bobby Wagner came shooting through and made first contact. And the Seahawks defense comes up with a stop. And with 1:57 to go, Seattle will take over. Play clock at 6. Here's the snap. Wilson back to throw. Rush coming. Throws for the end zone. And it is caught. Touchdown, Seattle. DK Metcalf with a diving catch. His second touchdown catch of the night. And with 15 seconds to go, the Seahawks are on top. 27-26.
That is Ryan Radke on Westwood 1. Last night, Seattle beating Minnesota with that late touchdown and that stop on 4th down. Both those getting done. Let's say hello to the big man in the house on Lions Review. Big Lo. Lomas Brown joins us now along with Mike O'Hara. What do you say, Lo?
Hey. How are you guys today? I'm great, man. Look at Mike. He
Lomas, I just want to. Yeah, you know what? I'm so happy to see. I want to ask you one thing.
Sure.
See what happens when you put the blade down sometimes?
Yeah, Lomas. Minnesota went for the attitude play.
They did, man. It was I think the other team, Seahawks, had a little bit more attitude than Minnesota had on that play.
I mean, you could sit around and argue that one for a while. I mean, You can say, man, they had the killer instinct. They went for it. If he makes it, everybody's congratulating him, and you're saying great job, but you don't. And you give the ball back to Russell Wilson. Next thing you know, you are really regretting it, and that's a brutal loss for the Vikings.
Oh, man, and he is playing at a high level. Talking about Russell, man. He is just playing at such a level, and they got a great team. And, it was a heartbreaking loss for them guys. I think I might have took the points there. I think I might have took those 3 points, those easy 3 points.
Lomas has a line that he goes up to when it's considered an attitude play, but not beyond it.
Right.
I don't know. Again, if it works, you're a genius. But I just think if I'm going to give the ball back to Russell Wilson under any circumstances, I want him to have to make a bunch of plays just to time me and get to overtime. But
I like Russell Wilson's 40-yard throw on 4th down better than I like their 5-inch run. Okay, I'll take Russell.
Yeah, and that wasn't particularly well played by the Vikings defensive back there. 27, I think it was. But look, guys, we've had our own share around here of tough losses this year. Minnesota's, they're not feeling sorry for us, and the Lions aren't feeling sorry for them. Big question is, how do you get this thing right? How do you get this thing moving in the right direction? Lomas, you were on a couple of teams that made big turnarounds in season. What's it take? Because there's nobody really different. Maybe Joe Dahl comes back healthy or Justin Coleman, but how do you turn a season around?
Those guys are going to have to just try to dig deep. I mean, at this point, think about it. It's not about X's and O's with them. It really isn't. I mean, to me, it's about effort. It's about want to at this point. And I'm not just laying it all on the players. I'm not just saying it's all on them because, we do see some flaws in some of the philosophy that the coaches have. But as a player, man, you have to want to take it to the next level. You have to want to keep getting better. And the thing that's happening to them is they'll start off a certain way. And then, second half is just like it's a totally different team. Like the team either they lose, they're tired, they lose their technique. They're not getting off blocks. They're not doing a lot of things that you need to do to play winning football in the 3rd and 4th quarters of games. And that's just been killing them. And, Dan, like I say, I don't think it's X's and O's at this point. I just think it's effort and just want to and trying to get to the point where that you're winning games that you need to win or that you would like to win.
Guys, you think that they'll play with a little more tempo on offense when they get to Jacksonville? And really, it seems to me a team that you could do that too. But really, they'll get on the ball and get moving and start and really play. Like I say, play with some tempo.
Yeah, I think that would help. I mean, those were some of the things that we used to do. I just remember when we were struggling back with the Lions on the offensive side of the ball, and that's what they would do. They would simplify. With some of the things they would do, they would take out some of the plays. They would go with the plays that you know good or you can run good. So they would simplify things, and we would just practice that. You would just try to get good at that, and to me, I think that's what the Lions have been doing. It's just what are they running? What are they practicing? What's the philosophy? And that's the thing that keeps puzzling me about this season so far.
Lomas, is that what Matthew's talking about? Because one phrase that he uses often is tempo in and out of the huddle. What's he mean when he talks about tempo in and out of the huddle?
So what he's talking about them getting the plays into him with about 14, so he can have about 12 to 10 seconds left on the clock. That means the coach is getting the plays into Matthew. That means Matthew getting the plays to us as linemen and the rest of the guys in that huddle, and us quickly getting to the line of scrimmage. So Matthew can look at look at the defense, and if there's any pressure, if there's anything he needs to make adjustments to, then he has time to do that. A lot of times, man, it's so lackadaisical with your approach to the game. A lot of times you getting up to the line of scrimmage or getting in your stance with about 7 seconds left. It's not leaving a lot of time for the quarterbacks to make a lot of adjustments. So they used to always tell us that, man, we want to be a more up-tempo team. That's mean getting the plays in as coaches. That means getting the plays to the players as a quarterback. That means players getting to that line of scrimmage and executing those plays.
When you look at it from the perspective of an offensive lineman, Low, and you look at where the Lions are defensively right now, let me start with this. If you know they can't pressure the quarterback, what kind of advantageous position does that put you in as an offensive lineman? And they're having trouble stopping the run.
So voice. It's almost like I got a magnet on my shoulder pads and they got a magnet on their shoulder pads. I'm talking about the D lineman for the Detroit lineman.
And you just take them wherever you want.
They run into the line. If I'm an offensive tackle, I'm so happy to play the Lions, because they run into you. They come to you. Most good defensive ends, they don't want to get entangled with the offensive lineman. They trying to avoid them. They making moves. They're circling these guys. Every time I watch the outside rushers of the Detroit Lions, they run right into the lineman, then try to make moves. Oh, my God, I would be so happy if I had Lawrence Taylor or Derek Thomas, any of those guys just run into me. They would have made my job so much easier, and that's what's happening. And then you say that's the pass game. Think about that in the run game. Like I always say, man, if the guy gonna mush into me, all I gotta do is just pull him into my body and create just a little crevice for a Barry Sanders or Adrian Peterson or whoever to get through that hole. And that's what's happening with the Lions. So it's not a lot of effort that is taken on the part of opposing offenses to move those guys or to control those guys on the line of scrimmage, because they're coming right to you and enabling you to control them and do what you want to do with them.
Lomas, what do you make of what Trey Flowers said before the bye? We talked to the media about a week ago, or maybe 7 or 8 days ago, whatever it was. And he said one of the issues with the pass rush is that they're giving up too many yards on the ground, and they're not in down and distance to rush the passer. The advantage is with the offense.
Yeah, it is, and that's a great point. I mean, and what the other things is what else you can use for your plays. For your passes, meaning play action passes, you could throw the draw in there. To me, it's almost like the Barry Sanders effect, how they rush the passer. I remember pass rushers couldn't just stream upfield on me because you had Barry in the backfield, and they knew a draw play. He could hit you with a draw play, or they could dump a screen play over you. So they had to always rush with contain or rush with caution. That's how the Lions rush now. They rush like they're rushing a Barry Sanders or somebody that has a Barry Sanders in the backfield. to me, light your hair on fire. Just get upfield and let's see how you can beat guys every now and then. Let's just try that once. Let's just throw the control rush out and let's just try to just uncontrollably rush upfield and see what happens like that.
Hey, Lomas, let me ask you this. After
Go
7
ahead.
years with Barry Sanders, what was it like blocking in Arizona?
Oh, hey, it was easy, man. Hey, Mike, it was easy, man. I didn't have to worry about the running back coming all the way behind me. I didn't have to worry about a little fella, just a little 5'2" fella running through holes. Oh, it was so much easier, man, without, out in Arizona blocking for those guys, man.
But
It was like slugs.
probably less productive, though.
Oh, a lot less. Believe me, man. No, hey, voice, it was a lot less productive. Believe me, it went from not having the best pass rushers lighting their hair on fire and getting upfield on you with Barry in the backfield to them guys just not even caring. They just line up in the 9 technique and just blow up field. Yes, sir.
Low, good stuff, man. We appreciate you. Looking forward to seeing you again this weekend when we get back out there against Jacksonville. We'll see what happens. See if they can get that defense looking a little bit different in second quarter than it did in the first quarter, because as we have all alluded to, it's got to be better. Something's got to change there.
It's time for change.
All right, my friend. Good talking to you as always. We'll see you this weekend.
Take care. Take care,
right,
Michael.
there he is, Lomas Brown, the man, big man, joining us right there. That chat brought to you by the Henry Ford Health System, the official healthcare provider of the Detroit Lions. Back, Michael Harrell with closing thoughts. Plus, Mike will have
call of the game.
Call of the game. Yes, I was going to say drive of the game. Call of the game. We're just going to say call of the game. Yeah, listen. I'm on my bye still. We'll take a break. Come right back on this edition of Lions Review.
back to more Lions Review. Presented by MGM Grand Detroit, the king of sportsbooks. Here's Dan Miller.
Dalton in the gun. Elliott to his right. Snap back. Four-man rush. Deep ball down the right side for Gallup. Caught it! At the 15-yard line. And then out of bounds. Wow.
Brad Sham on 105.3, The Fan and the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network. That is our Ring Central call of the game. Ring Central, official partner of the Detroit Lions. Ring Central, message, video, phone together. And Michael, the pressure now, it shifts to Andy Dalton because of the brutal injury that we saw suffered by Dak Prescott. Thankfully, had surgery. All apparently went well. He'll be back full speed next year. But, boy, that was tough to watch, to see Dak end up with a fractured ankle and a dislocated ankle and a compound fracture as well.
No, absolutely. It just when he left the stadium and he raised his right hand, look, you see a lot of injuries, and some of them reminded me of Mike Utley in 1991, except the thumbs up, and not in a good way. I mean, it was inspiring as it became, but you knew what was going on there. And the same thing with Dak. It was just now. Mike became a quadriplegic. Yeah. There's a difference here, but that's one of the things that flashed through my mind is the inspiring move, and that's just a great, in that regard, just a great courageous moment. Shows you what leadership is.
Yeah, no, and he is loved by the fans in Dallas and his teammates in Dallas. But Andy Dalton has played in some big games before, so it's going to be interesting to see how he reacts to this now, to see where this goes, because the expectations of the Dallas Cowboys now land on him, and we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, Dalton had 4 years in the playoffs, never won a game. He didn't do all that well. One touchdown pass, 6 interceptions in those 4 playoff games. But it's not exactly like he's going into a contemporary Dallas team that's used to thriving in the playoffs either. They sort of get there and they get bounced out, maybe win one game and gone. So it's not like he's inheriting the dynasty of the 1990s.
No, and I'm surprised at their defensive struggles. I thought they'd be better. I'm really surprised by that side of the ball for Dallas at this point.
No, I am too. I think one of their big losses, you can talk about the players and all that, but one of the big losses to me is that Rod Marinelli is now coaching the defensive line of the the Las Vegas Raiders. I thought that was a big loss for them, not keeping Rod.
Yeah, and we'll see. I mean, heat gets turned up awful quickly for that coaching staff in Dallas when you look at where they are right now, because expectations were always high, and they were high coming in this year. Now maybe people temper their expectations with Dak not being in there, but NFC is very interesting right now to see where everybody's at, with Seattle and Green Bay kind of leading the way right now.
And it's who isn't leading the way too, like San Francisco, who saw that, and the Saints, back-to-back 13-3 seasons, they don't look the same. And it's not just Michael Thomas. I think some of the air really has gone out of Drew Brees. I just checked their, what they're doing now. It's 6-3, and I think he's 3 for 7 for 23 yards, or 4 for 7 for 23 yards. Not quite the same player, and when he's not the same, it affects that entire offense.
Well, beware. As we know in Detroit, he can heat up quickly. Michael, good stuff. That's going to do it for this edition of Lions Review. We'll see you Sunday at the game, and you'll hear it right here on Lions Radio. Have a great night, everybody.